What if the symbol of life itself could be twisted into a nightmare? How does a Hollywood star become a relic, crushed under the weight of ketchup-stained oblivion? And what Faustian pact promises resurrection, only to deliver a Cronenbergian curse? In this video, we dissect Coralie Fargeet's The Substance, a film that claws at the veneer of youth-obsessed culture. How does Fargeet weaponize body horror to scream against Hollywood's hunger?
We need her young. We need her hot. We need her now.
Why is Elizabeth's smile in her final moments both triumph and tombstone? We're diving into the clinic's cold glow, Harvey's shrimp-stained tyranny, and the 7-day cycle that mirrors our own addiction to reinvention. From De Palma's voyeurism to Baudrillard's hyper-reality, we'll map the film's cinematic DNA. This isn't just analysis, it's a wake-up call. Press play and confront the mirror. The film begins with a sequence so unsettling it feels like a violation of nature itself. A close-up of a needle, glistening, sterile, and cruel, pierces the translucent membrane of an egg yolk. The camera lingers as a virulent green liquid, reminiscent of poisoned absinthe, floods the yolk's golden core. The egg convulses, bulging grotesquely until a second yolk erupts from its surface, pulsing with unnatural life. This opening, drenched in the cold blue light of a laboratory, is less a scene than a warning. The egg, universal symbol of fertility, creation, and fragility, is perverted into something monstrous, foreshadowing Elizabeth Sparkle's metamorphosis from human being to commodified spectacle. Elizabeth's introduction is a masterclass in tragic irony. Once Hollywood royalty, her Walk of Fame star now lies beneath a tourist's discarded burger, its bun soggy with ketchup that pools like blood around her name. Moore plays Elizabeth with a brittle dignity, her face a mask of Botox-stiffened defiance. In her aerobic studio, a garish neon dungeon, she leads a half-empty class of disinterested women, her sequined leotard catching the light like shattered glass. Every jump, every forced smile, screams of a woman performing her own obsolescence.
Every fucking young girl in this fucking town, in the next few weeks. We need her young. We need her hot. We need her now.
The studio executive, whose very presence seems to sour the air. Played with grotesque relish, Harvey is a Frankenstein's monster of Hollywood's worst impulses, part Weinstein, part P.T. Barnum. Director Coralie Fargeet shoots him through distorting fisheye lenses, his bloated face flushed with cheap whiskey and unchecked power. In a pivotal dinner scene, he devours shrimp with animalistic glee, cracking shells between yellowed teeth.
People just love that. I mean, that's just the way it is.
The camera lingers on the carnage, a plate of broken exoskeletons, as Elizabeth sits across from him, her salmon salad untouched. The metaphor is unsubtle but potent. Hollywood consumes women, leaving only debris. Harvey's dismissal of Elizabeth is a masterpiece of casual cruelty. He tosses her a cookbook wrapped in wrinkled Christmas paper, its ribbon frayed and reused.
It's French. My wife, she swears by it. Oh, I love my wife.
He smirks, the gesture dripping with condescension. The scene's timing, days before Christmas per Elizabeth's barren advent calendar, heightens the humiliation. She is not just fired, she is regifted, a relic passed off as novelty. Elizabeth's unraveling accelerates when a clinic nurse hands her a USB drive labeled The Substance. The promotional video within is a retrofuturistic nightmare, its aesthetic caught between a 1980s infomercial and a cult recruitment tape. A voiceover, smooth, genderless, and eerily calm, promises a better version of yourself, while the screen floods with images of writhing bodies, their skin glowing with inhuman perfection.
Unlocks your DNA. starting a new cellular division that will release another version of yourself. This is the substance.
The sequence nods to Brian De Palma's body double in its voyeuristic excess, but where De Palma eroticized, Farjeet pathologizes.
You can't escape from yourself.
The lab where Elizabeth retrieves the serum is a temple to clinical horror. White walls stretch into infinity, their surfaces so sanitized they seem to reject light. Shelf 503, numbered for its spiritual symbolism, the infinity sign turned vertical, holds her kit, a syringe, vials of emerald liquid, and a manual written in a looping, almost alchemical script. Elizabeth's transformation is body horror at its most primal. After injecting the serum, she collapses in her bathroom, a tiled womb of cracked mirrors and flickering fluorescence. Her back arches violently, skin splitting along the spine with a sound like tearing linen. From the wound slithers Sue, a creature of taut flesh and predatory grace. Quali's performance is a revelation. Her Sue is all restless limbs and feral smiles, a fembot programmed for destruction. The birth scene, drenched in amniotic fluid and blood, channels Alien's chestburster sequence, but twists it into a perverse feminist mythos, woman as both creator and destroyer. The rules are simple: 7 days as Sue, 7 days as Elizabeth. But this is no equitable split. Sue's days are a montage of hedonism, raves lit by strobe lights that carve her body into abstract shapes.
Thank you so much, everybody.
One night stands with men whose faces blur into a single smirk.
Sue. 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 Sue.
Her nights are soundtracked by throbbing EDM, the bass line syncopated to her own racing pulse. Elizabeth's days, by contrast, are a dirge. Confined to her apartment, a mausoleum of framed accolades and unopened fan mail, she withers. Moore's physical transformation here is staggering. Her posture sags, skin mottling like old parchment, while her eyes, still sharp with intelligence, burn with trapped fury. Farjeet weaponizes Baudrillard's theory of hyperreality, framing Hollywood as a simulacrum that devours authenticity. Elizabeth's apartment, dominated by a floor-to-ceiling portrait of her younger self, evokes the picture of Dorian Gray. But here, the painting doesn't age. She does. The portrait's unblinking gaze becomes a silent accuser, a reminder that her value was always contingent on stasis. Sue, meanwhile, exists in a hyper-real LA of Instagram filters and influencer parties. Her world is a candy-colored hellscape where everyone is beautiful and no one is real. Elizabeth's decision to binge on fried chicken, a dish from Harvey's cookbook, is the film's most subversive act. Farjeet shoots the sequence like a horror movie. Elizabeth's hands tremble as she rips into drumsticks, grease smearing her lips like war paint. The camera lingers on the carnage, a table littered with bones, before panning to her distended stomach, where a shard of meat protrudes like a grotesque trophy. This is no mere breakdown, it's a reclamation.
Tell them who your little beauty secret is.
I guess
Why don't we just show them right
By
here?
indulging in the unruly appetite society denies aging women, Elizabeth weaponizes her body against the very system that sought to control it. The act is both exorcism and baptism, purging the poison of patriarchal expectation.
I just, I try to be myself.
The film's final act descends into phantasmagoria. Sue, having ignored the 7-day rule, mutates into Monstro Elisa, a Cronenbergian chimera with Elizabeth's sagging flesh fused to her own. Played with tragic pathos, Monstro is both abomination and martyr. Her body, a quilt of mismatched skin, oozing sutures and one milky eye, becomes a walking indictment of beauty standards. In the climactic New Year's Eve scene, Monstro takes the stage before a jeering crowd. As she dances to Strauss' Also sprach Zarathustra, the same score used in 2001, A Space Odyssey, her body begins to disintegrate. Teeth clatter to the floor, fingers snap like dry twigs. The audience's laughter curdles into horror, mirroring our own complicity in the cult of youth. Elizabeth's smile in her final moments, radiant, almost beatific, is the film's Rorschach test. As her body dissolves into her Walk of Fame star, the screen floods with golden light. Is this transcendence? Surrender? Farjeet leaves it ambiguous, but the star's glow feels less like apotheosis than entombment. Elizabeth becomes what Hollywood always wanted her to be, an icon, sanitized of humanity. The substance joins a lineage of feminist body horror, raw, Titane Jennifer's Body, that reframes grotesquerie as rebellion. But where those films centered young women, Farjeet trains her lens on menopause, a taboo even in progressive horror. Her influences are eclectic, the bathroom's shining-inspired carpet, a maze trapping women in cycles of abuse, Vertigo's haunting use of mirrors, here reflecting fractured selves, and Requiem for a Dream's clinical despair. Aronofsky's influence looms in close-ups of needles in decay. Yet the film's boldest provocation is its refusal to offer catharsis. There's no triumphant third act for Elizabeth, no systemic reckoning for Harvey. Instead, Farjeet leaves us with Monstro's disintegrating corpse and a star that glitters emptily under Hollywood's neon sky, a monument to all the women ground into dust by the dream factory.